It's 2019 and I started playing video games probably about 25 years ago, around 1994. Now a lot of things has happened since then, but Sega predicted the future back in 94. Why? How? They launched the Sega Channel. What the Sega Channel was, it was a monthly subscription service that would let you essentially stream games from your Genesis without having to leave your home. This was groundbreaking for its time, but in the same breath, admittedly far ahead of its time. While we've seen many versions of the Sega Channel throughout the years in the form of Nvidia GeForce Now and PlayStation Now from Sony to name a couple, the idea of streaming games has been hard for people to grasp onto, myself included, until now. I pre-ordered Google Stadia Founders Edition. I hold in my hand my original copy of Sonic the Hedgehog from the Sega Genesis that I had as a kid. Now, Sonic was my introduction to video games, and to this day, still very near and dear to my heart. I love this game. I've played the crap out of it, beaten it so many times. Still can't get all the Chaos Emeralds. You know, those special stages are just so darn hard, alright? But anyway, games like this, I've started to try to physically grow my collection, as you can see here right now. And while my collection is still small, my digital library has grown at the same rate, if not at a larger one. But the thing is, I just described how awesome and nostalgic it is to play something I had from nearly 30 years ago, and doesn't digital take that ability away? I mean, it's a convenient factor, especially with something like my Switch, where I can easily flip between, you know, maybe I want to play a bit of Super Mario Maker 2, but you know what? Now I'm in the mood for Smash Bros. And I can do that, and I don't have to leave my couch and go get the cartridges. It's a convenience factor, and that's what's awesome. I mean, take my Nintendo Wii here, for instance. I have plenty of N64 games on here that I can just play anytime I want. However, if I were to drop this Wii right now, or if I don't know, something just were to happen to it, I lose access to those games. I mean, is that fair? I paid for them fair and square.
This is what Google is trying to convince us to do. They want us to fork up money with the future possibility that their service will be non-existent. But before I get too deep into what I'm trying to discuss, here's a SparkNotes version of what Stadia is for the uninitiated. Google Stadia is an upcoming cloud gaming service that will stream games over the internet. There are two plans people can opt for. One is a free option, and another is a paid option for better graphic fidelity, free games, and discounts. On top of that, you'll need to pay the asking price for a specific game. No subscription service, just games you purchase and get to play. The appeal is you'll be able to play these essentially with anything that has a screen, including your phone, tablet, or PC. Let's face it, that future is scary. We have these cartridges or discs that we can always go back to without fail and play. Now granted, the later versions of these may require game fixing patches or online servers to play their multiplayer modes, but for the most part this isn't an issue. However, if Google were to have its way, that will be possible, because if Stadia is successful, this is what will happen. Google Stadia will never require any hardware upgrade for the user. The console will be a thing of the past as while waiting for your game to finish downloading. The total cost will nearly be non-existent outside of software, and perhaps peripherals in the way of controllers. Google is arguably one of, if not the biggest company in the world, even more so than Microsoft and definitely far bigger than Sony and Nintendo. Like, it's not even close. Google may be in the too big to fail camp, but if they have a successful gaming service on their team, the gaming industry will have its biggest competitor since Microsoft entered the console space back in 2001. But unlike Microsoft and its groundbreaking Xbox in the early 21st century and Halo, Google is planning on its consumers to rely on their internet connections. The big argument here is that our internet is incapable of handling what Stadia is offering, which, if what Google is saying is true, it's not going to require an awful lot for you to have a good connection to Stadia. Just a 10 megabits per second connection will allow for 720p, where a 20 megabit per second will give you 1080p, and 30 to 35 megabits per second will provide 4K. Now, the argument here that I will stand with on the detractors of Stadia in regards to internet is the data cap aspect of it. This is where Stadia is ahead of its time, much like Sega Channel was back in 1994. Unlimited data can get pretty expensive with ISPs, or may not even be available with certain ISPs, which will create quite the problem for those trying to stream games. While this aspect won't necessarily be a problem for me, I'm the exception and certainly not the rule. The bottom line, however, is you'll be able to stream this at typical internet speeds just fine. How the graphic fidelity looks whilst playing is still up in the air, but I'm looking at this very optimistically. Also optimistically, I'm loving the fact that I'll get everything from Destiny 2 included with my Founders Edition. I own the DLC for Destiny 2 on Xbox and PC that isn't Shadowkeep, so I'm glad I'll be getting access to Shadowkeep with Stadia. But this is the first of the free games that will be coming to Stadia for Pro members, and some may be thinking, Party Ball, Destiny is a free-to-play game now. And I'll say you are correct, but as I already mentioned, there's extra content, and that extra content on the other systems is still pay to play. Plus, Destiny is a big name in gaming, so this was a great first get for Stadia. I'm interested if the quality of content will remain just as high going forward. Stadia is getting some big names right off the bat as well, including Borderlands 3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Doom, NBA 2K20, and the entire Tomb Raider series. While I would love to have one of these games as a part of the free offerings right after Destiny, I think Google will be making the wrong move doing that. It'd be quite the slap in the face to offer Borderlands 3 at launch for purchase, and then in December offer Borderlands 3 free to Pro members. I will, however, make an early prediction that NBA 2K20 will either be a free offering or be on a very nice discount come All-Star Weekend in February. But the possible discounts for Stadia games are not getting enough attention for the right reasons. This is something for me that the jury is still out on since we haven't seen this gone into action. If you opt for the free version of Stadia as it stands currently, sale prices will not exist. I think this is the wrong move because I think a similar sales style akin to what Xbox and PlayStation has for its members should be where they go. So, for example, say Tomb Raider 2013 launches at $19.99, which I think it will. Free members should get access to a sale at, say, around $17.99, but if you're a Pro member, you get a better discount at, say, something like $14.99. This incentivizes subscribing to Pro and at the same time doesn't punish you for being a free member. Don't get me wrong though, I am excited to see how Google's discount system will work. Will these sales rival what Steam offers, or will this be kind of close to what the Nintendo eShop offers and provide less than stellar discounts? These are the two extremes on both sides, but how sales are handled could be a big factor in Stadia's success. So what really has me excited? Well, I'm a huge fan of the Switch and the flexibility the system provides. And while Stadia was in development far before the Switch was, I still think the Switch has paved the way for Stadia. The Switch has given us a home console experience with flexibility not seen before, and this is what Stadia is looking to offer, but on a much grander scale. While I do have a gaming PC, it isn't necessarily the greatest, and it requires game-by-game tweaking from me to enjoy each game at a steady frame rate, while sometimes sacrificing graphical fidelity to do so. Stadia will eradicate that issue for me. Due to Stadia working through the cloud, I can game on my PC at the best quality settings without worrying about my computer overloading, and even offer me a decent chance at streaming some of these games that I wouldn't have been able to do so. When I want to go stream Destiny 2, I'm forced to use my Xbox One because my computer can't handle Destiny and OBS at the same time. But Stadia and OBS at the same time will more than likely be a very suitable option. Also exciting to me is I no longer have to worry about running out of space or purchasing an additional hard drive to hold all my digital games and data. This avoids me having to pick and choose what I want to keep on my system. Also in the same space, I don't have to worry about downloading either. While having the ability to preload games nowadays is an awesome feature, these preloads are taking up space and have to be done to begin with. Oftentimes they'll still include a day one patch which will still keep me from playing the game that I bought. With Stadia being in the cloud, it's safe to say that updates will also be a thing of the past when it comes to the consumer side. But like anything, Stadia isn't without its worries from yours truly. As I mentioned already, I do love having physical copies of games. If I'm not entirely interested in collecting a specific game, I have absolutely no problem going digital. For me, sports games is a prime example of this. Not technically owning these games is kind of scary, but I'm putting my faith in Google as a company that this will not be a problem, if at all, for a long time. My next biggest worry is needing the internet in order to play these games. And I get this is kind of the point of Stadia, but Google can't control how Comcast is feeling every day and may give me a day with a weak connection or instability and I can't play my Stadia games. In fact, this is probably my biggest worry outside of me absolutely needing unlimited data that I have about Stadia. And this isn't really Google's fault in the end because this is an online service after all, and if my ISP isn't up to task on certain days, that doesn't fall on Google or their infrastructure, that's my ISP's fault. Lastly, my next biggest worry is news that came out after I began writing this episode. In an interview with The Verge, Google told them it's quite possible that not all Founders Editions will be on your doorstep on November 19th. Those that are unaware, the Google Stadia Founders Edition was the first edition available for pre-order for Stadia. And this is an unfortunate problem that a lot of companies are just unable to fulfill. For instance, I don't pre-order games from Amazon anymore because I won't get it on the day of release. This destroys the point of pre-ordering, so the way Stadia will ship their Founders Edition pre-orders will be on a first-come, first-served basis. So the first of those that pre-ordered will get their hands on it first. To fix this issue, Google should absolutely send codes to those that pre-ordered it so they can access Stadia immediately, but just use their own peripherals. It's less than ideal for those that really want or need the Stadia controller, but it would be unacceptable to allow pre-orders, technically fulfill them, and be late on delivering them to the customers. But all in all, the one thing that matters in the end is how Stadia performs from a software standpoint. Will it be a viable alternative in the gaming market, or will we be scratching our heads after the 19th of November?